this morning right here on Channels Television. Now, we've heard several economic outlook for 2026, and we get that every year, beginning of every year. We've had summits and a lot of conversations holding on. But how effective are these conversations? How much of these conversations actually capture the reality, or how much of those outlooks actually come true at the end of the day, or through to reality? We have Dr. Ayodeji Abel. He's the Managing Director and Chief Business Officer of Afrinvest. Dr. Abel, good morning and welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I know that you're part of a summit, an economic outlook summit that's supposed to hold, I believe, tomorrow, but we've seen several of it. Sitting outside all of this, how much impact or gains do we get as a nation from all of these conversations and outlooks that are being shared?
Okay, thank you very much for having us. Yeah, so first thing we need to notice, one of the major reasons for this is, first of all, even empowering the church members as well as the society as a whole to navigate this evolving economy. You know, just like different things are moving, we say we have different parts that are moving almost simultaneously. So how do you get yourself empowered, even as an individual, as the average Nigerian, for you to be able to efficiently navigate some of these changes? You know, what we look at, and that's what will also dovetail into what we call the productivity within the economy. So the way I see some of those summits, and what we're also trying to do tomorrow, is that we'll be also highlighting, we've seen evolving reforms, starting from the major one, the elephant in the room, is taxation. How can you optimize your business? How can you optimize even your income such that you legally avoid paying taxes? So, you know, when you try to know what to do so that you don't also fall into paying too much taxes. Also, we have the exchange rate reforms that we say that yes, there's been stability, but how can you also plan your investment despite the stability? How can you plan investing to optimize this? There's the inflation rate that, yes, it seems based on the last figure has been tapering down, but how can you avoid just keeping money in your savings account rather than trying to see how you want to bridge that gap? So these are some of the things that if the average Nigerians are not even empowered, their level of productivity would even also be lowered, and that would have direct impact on disposable income, which would also have that ultimate impact on productivity.
Yeah, so tomorrow you'll be discussing navigating tax reforms and investment opportunities, as you have mentioned. And I heard it's more about tax planning, you know, not tax avoidance or anything negative. Perhaps you could share with us a tip or two of what we could expect when you're discussing this topic.
Okay, thank you very much. So when you look at tax planning, we look at it from even the investment angle. We know there's what we call capital gain tax. And the threshold is that if your portfolio is above 150 million, as well as your profit is above 10 million, you won't be paying tax. But there are ways that you can plan yourself. When you have stocks that are in losses, when you are planning for the year, don't just sell those ones that are in profit and you are booking profit. Those that are in losses can also be a way to minimize your tax liabilities. Also, there are small businesses that are still they are carrying out their activities in what we call business name that are not limited. When you look at how is it going to be treated, it's going to be treated like a personal account. So why don't you just simply upgrade to limited to give you that threshold of that 100 million threshold as a small business that would exempt you from paying taxes. So these are some of the things that we have professionals that we are bringing forward that will come and discuss these things. These guys have been dealing with SMEs, and how, even as an individual, how do you effectively plan for you to optimize the resources that is available to you?
Talking about the tax reform, Dr. Ebo, has sentiment changed? Because mostly from December to early this month, as the tax reform implementation started, the sentiment was more about distrust, and it was negative towards the reform. Around you, would you say the sentiment has changed?
No, I wouldn't say the sentiment has changed, but everyone has come to embrace the reality. So if you can't change something, so you need to see what do you need to do about this thing. Is now here. It's now based on the law effective 1st January 2026. You can't do anything about the implementation. So as an individual, as a business, what can you do? Putting the right things in place, saying more about when you look at the record, the VAT that you collect, the withholding tax, did you remit them as at when due? You know, now the penalty is more grievous. So those are some of the things that the individuals or businesses are now focused on, because the implementation effective date is out of your control. So that trust issue is still there, and Nigerians and businesses will just be hoping that, with the expectation that payment of these taxes will begin, whether in the medium to long term, translate into improved business environment. You see, if you have improved infrastructure, and even for the individual, is inflation. If the economy is better, inflation is lower, that would also impact on the disposable income, which would increase productivity.
So, I mean, it sounds like, well, if you can't beat them, you have to join them. But, I mean, in joining them, there's also the need to plan. And another side of the conversation is, now that everyone has become more conscious of tax and tax laws and tax payment, it seems it's creating jobs for more consultants, which is another expenses to businesses and maybe sometimes individuals.
You know, thanks. Like I tell some of my professional colleagues in the tax space, that this is not their time. The relevance of what they have been doing is now more prominent, because the average Nigerian is not used to paying tax or used to paying taxes. So, but secondly, you also have to look at the opportunity cost. The cost of compliance is cheaper than the cost of paying fine. So when you consider this, it is better that you plan well. You optimize your taxes, rather than just paying taxes by, see, like what I've said, a lot of businesses collect payment for their goods into their personal account, personal name. You can see the liability that will be there. Businesses that are not even doing turnover up to 50 million, 100 million, where you can enjoy exemption when you upgrade to limited or open a limited liability business. So these are some of the benefits that people will enjoy, because if they are well informed, and the consultants, this is their time, but it's also going to be over time. Demand will see a lot of even Nigerian professionals also becoming experts in that space, and I would say in terms of charges, consultation charges also taper as we progress. But this period, we would expect that a lot of them will be overwhelmed, and consultation prices will be very high.
All right, we hope they will also be considerate, especially to those small businesses. But thank you so much, Dr. Ayodji Ebo, the Managing Director and Chief Business Officer of Plutus New by AfriInvest.
Thank you for having me.